Hey everybody, it's your boy VG Time here again with our Hour 1 deck profile of Moff Gideon. So Moff Gideon is one of the two leaders you get in your Mandalorian slash Moff Gideon Star Wars Unlimited Shadows of the Galaxy starter. And I actually think this leader has a lot of potential. I think he's kind of overlooked, but I hope to change your mind as I go along with this deck profile. Again, this is Hour 1, meaning that, I didn't put any real testing into it, but I do think that it's kind of self-explanatory. I am going to explore different colors with this leader, like different aspects to see what works best. But we're going to start off with Vigilance, which is what he comes in the box with. What does Moff Gideon actually do? What he does is he has the action ability to attack with a unit that's 3 or less. If it happens to be attacking another unit, it gets +1 attack. It deploys on 5. Once you flip out, he's a 3/6 with Overwhelm. And then he has the ability that guys that cost 3 or less gets +1 attack and Overwhelm when attacking a unit. The reason why these effects is very strong is that it allows you to trade real favorably with your opponent's guys. Similar to Jyn Erso, right? Except for Jyn Erso allows you to trade like across, meaning like your 2 attacks their 2 and your 2 lives and their 2 dies. In the case of Moff Gideon, he goes, your 2 could attack their 3 or their 4 even, kills that, and then now you have your 3 or 4 to be able to punch down at their lower drops. So that's what we're trying to exploit. That's what we're trying to do here. And to start it off, we have a new card that literally is the epitome of it, Incinerator Trooper. So this guy right here is basically Han Solo 7-drop without the ambush. When it attacks, it deals its damage first. When you combine that with Moff Gideon's ability, if you happen to have initiative first and you play this guy, you are guaranteed to be able to just kill something on turn 2, assuming they didn't lane dodge you by going out into space. So if they went ground, like let's say you play this and then they was like, oh, it's just a 2/2, and they play out like a 3/3, or they play like a Sabine Wren or whatever, you could then use Moff Gideon to kill it off, and it will live. If they have the first turn play and they just ignore him for some reason, like they just look at him and don't think it's special, you could then wait until they play their 3-drop. Let's say they was like trying to play aggro Fleet Lieutenant into you, all that stuff. You could then just use him, take out the Fleet Lieutenant, leave the 2-drop there, and then play your own 3-drop. And as you pump this guy up, making him 3/3, 4/4, 5/5, whatever, he's going to be that much more oppressive as far as like killing things on their board. Another card that's really good early, mid, and late game, but particularly late game, is Seasoned Shore Trooper. It's a 2/3 for 2, which is okay. But once you get to 6 resources, which we do run a decent amount of ramp, you're going to be able to make him into a 4/3. Once you make him into a 4/3, now your Moff Gideon abilities start getting really good because now you're able to swing 5 at units, and with Overwhelm, it makes it really, really good, especially if you're punching again down or even across with this. General Tage, one of my randomly favorite Star Wars characters. On play, he gives 1 experience unit to up to 3 troopers. We're going to be trooper heavy, so you're going to play this once you have like a decent board state, pump the guys up, pretty, straightforward. 3 copies of Scout by Pursuer. As you can see, another trooper. This guy right here is pretty key to the strategy because he has grit. So as he's dealing more damage and being dealt more damage, and you're pumping him up and whatnot, he gets really huge. And then at some point, you're going to want to transition him to attacking base, and your opponent's going to have to have whatever it swings at it just insta-die, which is really, really good as well. 2 copies of Snow Trooper Lieutenant. It's your Fleet Lieutenant. You play it for 2, which makes it even better in a lot of ways. You attack with a unit, and if it happens to be Imperial, it gets +2. Again, this makes cards like this even better. If they started off and then play like a 3/4 on turn 2, you could play this, swing, kill it off, not take damage back. This also helps you close out games. Going to our 3s, we have OG Death Trooper. Death Trooper is basically like there to finish off things, right? You play it out, it deals that last 2 damage you might need, and then it kind of chills around. It also has synergies with Scout by Pursuer. Then we come to our next new card, Phase 3 Dark Trooper. This card right here is pretty gas. It's a Sentinel, and it says that when combat damage is dealt to this card and it survives the combat damage, gets a experience counter. This allows you to, again, if you're in a situation where you can punch down, you could just swing into something smaller, get the experience on it, and now your opponent has to worry about swinging their guy across or even down into this and possibly creating an uneven trade. It gets even worse. We have 2 copies of Cell Block Guard, just to continue with our sub theme of our main theme of troopers, and our sub theme of having like randomly good Sentinels. Then we have Super Laser Tech. It's kind of a staple in green villainy. You have to play it. It's even better in this deck, though, in a lot of ways. Moff Gideon allows you to use this as an actual offensive tool. So it actually behooves your opponent to swing into it versus letting you swing. If they have anything with 3 toughness that they don't want to necessarily die, they will have to swing into this, because Moff Gideon would allow you to make this a 3-1 trade and then ramp. We play in 2 copies of Del Miko. This is really for main deck tech for control matchups. Because we are all in on Imperial, we do play 2 copies of General Veers. He's basically the Imperial Lord. He gives Imperials +1/+1. The dangers, though, of playing a deck like this, though, that is so low to the ground for the most part, is that you run out of cards pretty fast. That's why you see like things like, oh, you got to drag Sabine into the late game because she runs out of gas. Well, we have the perfect person to keep that from happening for us, which is none other than our boy Wilhoff Tarkin. Wilhoff Tarkin, or Grand Moff Tarkin, has the ability to top 5 and add 2 Imperial units to your hand. So that means that not only are you getting himself, you're getting 2 extra cards. It's a +1 or a +2 depending on how you value card advantage. Then we have our boy Gideon Hask. Gideon Hask is way better in this deck than it is in most decks that I see him played in, simply because you're doing all that combat interaction and trading, right? And then at that point, you're just putting experience counters all over the place, and you're going to basically focus him at base unless you really needed to do something on another unit on the board. As you're pumping things up and things are getting damaged, you could play Academy Defense Walker to give more experience across your board, which makes your board even more lethal. It also is a Sentinel, so again, randomly have Sentinels. And then we're going to talk about space real quick. So most of the time in Green Imperial, you didn't really have that many options for space. We have a few now that I think are pretty solid. So we're going to start off with the well-known TIE LN fighter, 2-1 in space. It's a good curve filler because, again, we're playing like lower to the ground things. So if you happen to have a random extra resource, you just play a TIE LN. Then we have Outland TIE Vanguard. This is a new unit in the trial deck. You play it, you give a unit 3 or less an experience token, which is, again, very strong. You get to, maybe go with a Sentinel, and then mentioning playing off turn, you could play this, pump your Sentinel, and then fill it in with like one of these guys right here, or another 2-drop, something like that. Then we have Inferno 4. So this card is way better in this deck than it is in most other decks. So one of the issues with Inferno 4 is that it never really traded into anything. With Moff Gideon, now it could trade into things. So you play out your 2/3, you get your effect. Let's say your opponent then plays a Green Squadron A-Wing before you, or even like a Alliance X-Wing, before you had no way of dealing with that card across from you. And what would happen is they would just swing into this, kill it, or whatever. Sure, you got the effect, but you really just didn't accomplish anything. Now you could play this out there, and then you could use his effect to swing for 3/3 at their unit. And now you could clear off those Green Squadron A-Wings or those Alliance X-Wings. TIE Advance. We played 2 copies to be able to pump things. Again, we're not playing particularly robust units, so we need to make sure we give them all a chance. What I like about this card is that it cares about your unit just being Imperial. So when you look at the backside of your leader, when you play it, that's what I usually wait for it for. You play it, make Moff Gideon a 5/8 with Overwhelm. If you happen to have a Veers out, it's a 6/9 with Overwhelm. Then we have 1 copy of Gladiator Star Destroyer to help shore up our Sentinel package in space. Now, this next card, I don't think it should be at 3, but I might even cut the card altogether, but I want to see if the benefits is worth it. And that is Gideon's Light Cruiser. Gideon's Light Cruiser has the ability on play to play a 3 or less from the drop or your hand. That is villainy. So it's never going to really miss in this particular deck. You could do stuff like play it, get back a Sentinel, shore up your defenses, and whatnot. The reason why I kind of like this card is that it gives you recovery against like board wipes and stuff like that. And then we have as our only upgrade and non-unit card, Price on Your Head. So I'm not really 100% sure whether or not I love this card or not, because again, I haven't really played with it that much, but it's a 2-cost upgrade. You put it on an opponent's unit, you give it bounty. And then if you capture that unit or defeat it, you get to ramp the top card of your deck into your resource row. So you do want to have some level of ramp. It is cheaper than resupply, but you have to jump through a few more hoops to get there. So because we do have this ramp, there's a chance that we could play this out like on our opponent's 6 resource turn, or even just 1 turn earlier, and it makes this card like infinitely better. So we'll see how it works out. So that is the Hour 1 deck profile for Moff Gideon. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you again next time, and this is VG Time signing out.